All right, guys, what's up? So I just went and finished another nice and enjoyable evening of catching up and playing a couple of games that were in my backlog. That's right, I do have a backlog, which you may or may not believe and may or may not know. While I was doing that, I turned around and realized that we've come to the end of yet another week here in this 1908 replay, and it's about time to take another look quickly at the statistics and see how things line up. So that's what we're going to do here today. We'll make it quick for you. We won't take too much of your time as we look at it, and so we go straight on over here. We'll take a quick look at the standings. I talk about this all the time. You're probably tired of hearing about this by now. Cleveland is in the lead in the American League by 2 games, followed by St. Louis of all teams. As you can see here, the standings at the bottom, if you look down here, maybe I should make this a little bit larger here. Let's see what we can do. There we go. As you can see with the standings at the bottom of the screen, it's a little bit different, at least in the American League. The Tigers in real life were the team who won the pennant, as we all know. They're 4.5 games out so far. Now remember, it's early. We're still in May, so there's a lot of stuff that can happen. Cleveland finished in second in real life, and they're in first place right now. Interestingly enough, Detroit at this part of time in the season in real life also were not up near the top. They're actually playing worse than they were in the replay. The surprising teams so far, the St. Louis Browns, they were in 4th place in real life, didn't have an awful season, but right now they're second and in the thick of it. And of course, the Philadelphia Athletics, who were 68 and 85 in real life, here they are at 20 and 16, and they're trying to keep pace as well. And then the Boston Red Sox, who were kind of a middling team, are also up in the hunt. The White Sox, who were so famously excellent in real life, find themselves at 17 and 19, and they're kind of on the outside trying to look in. We'll take a quick look here at the National League as well. So in real life, of course, we all know that the Cubs ended up winning, beating the Giants in that famous final 154th game. The Cubs are 5.5 out here so far, and they just lost to the Giants. We just watched that game the other day, actually. Depending on when I upload this, probably is going to be earlier today. The Giants are 29 and 7 for a 806 winning percentage. And I mean, we're talking like 1984 Tigers territory, so that's how good New York has been. After that, the rest of it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, the bad teams are still the bad teams. There's not too much surprising other than the Pirates, who are 19 and 20 right now, and they're kind of like a win and a loss and a win and a loss, that sort of thing. Phillies are up there, but they're not that much better than they were in real life. They're pretty comparable. So we'll take a quick look at the stats. I'm going to do a little bit backwards this time. Usually I look individual and then the league. We're going to look at the league statistics first. What I'm most interested in is not even batting and pitching by team. I'm more interested in what's happening composite, like overall, because a lot of these team statistics are going to change over time. We're not so interested in like looking at the number of home runs and all this stuff. I don't worry too much about that. I'm much more interested in looking at stuff like the league batting average. Look at this, 239 in the well, that's the National League. My apologies. Here we go. We got the right league up. League batting average 239 in the American League compared to 239 in real life. 295 on-base percentage here in the replay compared to 294 in real life. Slugging percentage was 308 in the replay so far compared to 304 in real life. That's pretty close, and that's telling me that we're getting probably around the right number of runs across. Everything looks like it's hitting just right where it needs to be hitting. We'll look at pitching here too really quickly. And what we care about the most is probably stuff like the whip, walks heads per innings pitched, 1.16 right here. In real life, 1.133, so that remains very, very close. Batted against average will be the same, of course. The other thing that people like to know about is the ERA, 2.44 in the replay compared to 2.39 in real life, which is close enough. I mean, that's extraordinarily close for a season as dominated by pitching as 1908 was. Then we'll just take a real quick look at fielding. We're not going to look too deep into this, just that the fielding percentage itself is right on. 955 in the replay compared to 958 in real life. That lets you know that that little E system really does work quite well. So if you're curious about this, curious about how Skeetersoft works and how realistic it may be, at least this far into the replay, it's looking good for the American League. Look quickly at the National League, and what we're seeing here is a National League batting average of 230 compared to to the 239 in real life. So the National League going through a bit of a spell of poor hitting. 284 the on-base percentage compared to 299, and then 296 slugging percentage compared to 306. Slugging percentage is a little bit closer, but yeah, the on-base percentage and batting averages are both down. This might be due to me using too many pitchers who are good. That might be part of it. It might just be the roll of the dice too. So we'll keep an eye on that as we move forward. And it's hard to get the pitching right, I'll tell you that. It really is. As far as pitching is concerned, walks and hits per innings pitched 1.11 in the replay compared to 1.141. Again, very, very close. ERA is 2.26 in the replay compared to 2.35 in real life. 2.26 is so low. I mean, I don't even know how to describe how low that is. And then we'll look quickly at fielding. So the National League is being a little bit depressed in terms of hitting, but fielding, 962 fielding percentage compared to the 961 in real life. So that's right where it needs to be, right on track. We'll just take a look really quickly here at some of the leaders. We'll look here in the American League. It's Clark, Josh Clark of Cleveland, who's hitting 338, currently the batting leader, followed closely by Ty Cobb, who's finally woken up. He's at 329. Cobb is going to end up overtaking him. The question is whether he can take the whole team along with him. Harry Niles with 5 home runs already for the Highlanders. Their only real moment of sunshine. Everything else is pretty dark there. In terms of on-base percentage, is Doherty with the White Sox, who has a 435 on-base percentage, followed there by Clark. Cobb is a little bit further down on the list, but Cobb has the slugging percentage. He's right behind Niles. Of course, Niles has those home runs, and that will also even out likely over time. In the National League, it's Wagner, of course, who's hitting 388. I don't know if there's much of a chance of him hitting 400. I mean, hitting 400 in 1908 would really be a feat. We'll see what happens. But it's all Honus Wagner everywhere. Bresnahan, though, still with a 478 on base percentage, which is why I have him batting first. Although that might change. We might do something a little bit different here with the batting lineups coming up soon. In terms of everything else here, OPS, Gessler, actually, of the Red Sox, has a slightly better OPS than Ty Cobb. Again, that's not going to last that long. Patsy Doherty of the White Sox has stolen 20 bases, but he's also been caught 13 times. He's been totally running wild, and we'll see how long that lasts. In the National League, it's, again, Wagner with the high OPS, 1.033, followed by Bresnahan with 915, and then Donlin with 863. You want to know why the Giants are so good. Here's your number 1 hitter, your number 2 hitter, your number 3 hitter. Penny, I think, is either 4 or 5. That's why they're so good, right? I mean, the lineup is just simply unstoppable as long as those guys are healthy. Wagner's stolen 22 bases, by the way. I bet you didn't pay much attention to that. He has been caught 10 times, but he's been doing a lot to make that offense work. In terms of pitching, it's still a little bit early to look at some of this, but you've got Berger with the Naps and Eddie Plank, Frank Smith. These are all guys that we knew were going to be good. There's Addy Joss. All of these guys, a huge list of pitchers with ERAs under 2. And remember, the American League composite ERA is very, very close to where it was in real life, or where it was at the end of the season. And Joss has won 9. I'm not sure how many he's lost. If he's lost yet, I can't remember off the top of my head. He's thrown 108 1/3. Eddie Walsh second with 103 2/3. So I may have accidentally used Joss more often than I should have in the early part of the season. Again, that'll even out over a while. In the National League, it's interesting to have Dorner with the Doves, who has an ERA sub 1. We'll see how long that one lasts. There's overall then Mathewson, and we saw Mathewson actually just earlier in that game. He, of course, is 10-0, and he's really taking over all the pitching duty for all the National League. If Mathewson's pitching like that, and if the Giants continue to hit like that, they might win 120 games. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm just telling you now. Don't be too surprised. We'll take a look over here and just see if there's anything interesting going off in these numbers, and not really, especially not at this time. I mean, maybe complete games, but everybody's throwing complete games. It's not really such a huge deal. And anyways, there you have it. That's sort of like the long and short of it here. I don't want to make this video necessarily too long. Overall, it's pretty realistic. It's not 100%, right? We are still looking at a batting average in the National League that's a little bit depressed. I'm going to look into that and see what I can do to try to change that and liven things up a bit. Again, when you're using your own pitching rotations, especially for dead ball era seasons for games that don't have a fatigue system, NP3 does not, it can be very difficult. I basically just have a list for every team and we're just going down, okay, this guy starts, this guy starts, this guy starts, because otherwise it becomes really, really complicated. This is one of those places where you really need something built into the game to help out. We'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later, but that's one of the weaknesses I see with the NP3 game and the NP3 system, especially for these older seasons. I would argue that games that have this type of system that you can use optionally, like replay, may be a little bit better. It may have been wise for me if I could go back and do it again to like sort of go back and use that type of system from the beginning and not worry about trying to make the pitching rotation up as we go along. Anyway, there you go, and that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys are having a good day. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.